Ni hao. I am so excited about people being a part of my world, exploring the arts with actors, writers, and directors of the great country of China. I have developed a technique, it's a 12-step technique that allows people to really explore growth, to be able to explore the ability to take your pain, your traumas, your insecurities and your fears, and to be able to actually utilize that instead of self-destructing and sabotaging your life, but to actually use it to fuel your ability to overcome and win the goal from the point of view of the characters on the page to the point of view of actually accomplishing change in your own personal life, and then therefore actually creating change in your audience who watches you, and giving them hope that if they have the same issues and problems that the character has, that maybe their change can also be the change for the audience, and you give them hope. And it's really important for people to know that audiences are just people who want to have change in their lives. They want to be able to have a happy life, a more empowered life, to have a life that is something that allows them to feel that their dreams can come true, that the love that they want to have in their life can happen, that they can explore success in their lives, as in terms of their careers, and in terms of making their children proud or their parents proud. This technique is something that allows not only the artist to actually explore that kind of growth, but to pass that along to your audience. The obligation of the artist through this technique allows a very simple way, a 12-step way, to be able to make that so. And I'm excited to be able to pass that along, because I think that the world is a lot smaller than we think it is. It is a world that we need to share, the human world, the world that shares a community, no matter what our language barriers are, no matter what our beliefs are, our political ideologies are, our feelings about religion or whatever. It doesn't really matter, because we are all connected by the human need, by the issues that all of us share, that we just want to be happy. We want to be able to be proud of ourselves. We want the people that we love to be proud of us, and we want to be able to share that into the world of being a human being. And I am very, very excited to be a part of that. Thank you so much.
So before coming to China, did you expect anything about the current acting and its teaching here? And what impression have you made since you got here?
I think that in terms of my impressions of every country that I go to, and I've been to many, many, many countries all over the world, is that there's something that we all share, and it's the human equation. So it's not that culture defines people, it's the human primal needs that exist with all of us all over the world. We all need love. We all need to feel accomplished. We all need to feel that we have strength, inner strength, and all the issues of survival that is just about being the basic human being. The only thing that culture is it's a way to define your journey within the confines of a country's rules and regulations, via in terms of anthropology and the science of anthropology. It's like really kind of dependent on like weather, the ability to grow certain crops, how people eat, how they need to dress for weather. All these things is what actually creates culture. So we've got to get down to the base of what we're trying to do as artists, is to recreate the human condition, the human behavior from the true source and the science of being a human being and the human animal. And that doesn't change anywhere. I worked with people from pretty much every country, and everybody has the same issues, the same traumas that have happened to them, the same fears, the same insecurities. It's really fascinating. It's fascinating how everybody has this similar need. So this technique that I have, the Chubbuck technique, what it does is it allows everybody to feel like we're unified. The best way to have an international fame factor, to have everybody, not just your culture, feel relatable to you, is to just get to the basis of what the science of what makes a human being and what their needs are, and then everybody relates to you. They laugh at the same humor, they cry in the same places, they don't even need to know the language. We should be able to turn down the sound and be able to still laugh and cry in the right places, and you can if you're coming from the base of the science of being a human being. So in terms of I have a school in LA where I have people from all over the world that come to me, and you would see that all of them together, from Chinese, Japanese, South American, Australian, Scandinavian, Italian, people from the UK, and on and on and on and on, people all over the planet. They all relate to one another. They all will, yes, I get it, I know that person's story, I feel the same way, and then how to access that, how to understand that from a very easy, nuts and bolts way is my technique creates that reality to be able to do that. That's why I set about to write this book. It took me 4 years, many rewrites, to be able to give a very concise version that will allow people from wherever you come from to be able to access your depth, understand truly what your needs are, what your insecurities are, and embrace the things that have happened to you that normally create shame, and to actually see them as gifts. They're gold. They're gold. How do you do that? Well, it's in the book.
Once called the American Stanislavski, what do you think of the inheritance of or difference between your technique and the Stanislavski system? Or what about the method of Strasberg? In other words, why will performers today choose yours?
All things artistic always have the base of taking other artistic forms and having them evolve as time goes by. Stanislavski, which was wonderful and an amazing technique, the first time that it was actually truth was being used, personalizations were being used. Before that, people were acting. But the problem is that was over 100 years ago that Stanislavski created this technique. And like all things all things are about growth. You have to evolve and grow and change and grow. We are now in the 21st century. We're in a place where many things are quite different than they were over 100 years ago, including technology, including our ability to move and have communication that connects the world. That they didn't have anything even close to being like that. Not even mail could do that. And so the idea that we have to touch the hearts of the people that watch movies and television and theater, that they need to be able to relate. To be able to relate to the conditions and the realities of where human beings are at in today's world. So what I've done was taken Stanislavski's method and use it as a beautiful foundation, because it's a gorgeous foundation to work from, and to be able to bring it to the 21st century. And one of the reasons why the Russians, who they've held on to the moniker of the Stanislavski, like the 21st century, Stanislavski, is because they know I use that with great with great love and treasure that this is a way to work that I think that needs to be given its genius, its due. However, we need to upgrade it. So my technique does is take not only the truth of being what the human condition is, but it explores the idea of how to use it to win with. So there's choices in life, and the choices, like when you have things that happen to you, life happens, and bad things happen, and what happens to us is like we have the choice to actually see that as to be defeated by it, to find self-destruction from it, to find shame from it, or to be able to find it as a most incredible fuel to overcome and win something with. And it's very, very powerful, but it's also the path of most resistance. It's the easiest path, the path of least resistance is just to let go, be defeated by that. So my technique takes the truth, but I say the truth is not enough. The truth could be boring because the idea is like if you're around somebody that's feeling truthfully complaining about how they're emotionally hurting, they're emotionally complaining about how people are treating them badly, and it's true and it's real, but boy, it's really annoying to be around people like that. And so if you don't want to be around those people for free, why would you pay money to actually watch them complain and hurt and explore their emotions? So what I do is I say, okay, let's take these same emotions that are truth, but see them as our ability to impassion and fuel, our ability to overcome and win and create a dynamic journey. I use the word win, W-I-N, win. To win something is exploring adrenaline. It's really like playing any kind of a game makes you really want to win. And so it touches upon us from a place, and I'll go back to my anthropological roots of my study. It's like back in the day, before human beings were able to stand upright, Neanderthal man, they played games. The whole notion of the human animal was to win and lose, to play games. There always was a contest, some version of game that was being played. Theater started 2,000 years ago. Games have been played since the beginning of mankind. And so we got to put the game concept in there that allows us to say the truth, the stuff, our emotions are there to win in spite of and because of those issues that we deal with. So we embrace our insecurities, our pains, our traumas, our dramas, our emotions as something that not to throw away, but to say, oh my God, that makes me special, that makes me unique, and I can explore growth and change and evolvement and success, some version of, I always say to my students, you need to find in your objective, you need to find some version of prosperity, whether it's spiritual, emotional, or physical, financial prosperity, all of the above. Find a way to use that information to solve things, not just to sit in it, but to solve them. That is a difference, it's a huge difference from other techniques. And there's some great techniques out there. I mean, mine is not the only way, but mine is really all about like solving things, winning, and creating a dynamic journey of emotional heroism.
As we know, the training in Beijing is only lasted 2 days. As we know, your technique is to discover their drama in their past. We think it's a really limited time to let you discover their drama, and most of them your first time to see them. How can you, in just limited time, to find it and to discover it and to develop it to empower their skill? So
I know what you're asking. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. One of the reasons why I can take 2 days and create incredible change from day 1 to day 2 is because the human condition is the human condition. I can ask questions, and I ask leading questions when I talk to my actors, and I will ask questions that are just based on understanding that everybody kind of suffers the same things, and that so I'll ask a question, I'll watch their behavior, and I'll say, ooh, they said no, they have no feelings about it, but I see their body is saying differently. So the other science that I use in my work is behavioral science. So I watch behavior. I don't listen to the words because words can lie. Behavior tells the truth. And so then I change my questions off of the behavior, and I get in there really fast. And then we use it within the environment of the script that I've given to them in advance that they needed to work on, using the tools of the book, so that they've already done the work off of the 12 steps. So they're already ahead of that. And then what happens is I will delve into their answers, and if they're still not willing to like admit to it, I'll say, let's just for the heck of it use it anyway and see what happens. And it works, of course, and then they play with it. They have to rehearse many hours after the first day, using all the information that I've given to every single scene, and I give a lot of information. I'm very precise. I get very deep. I talk about my own stuff to allow people to be able to feel that they can be open with theirs, because I'm being open with mine, and it actually feels good to be open. It makes you feel brave, and it makes you feel good that you actually have the you're a survivor. Being a survivor is pretty amazing. And so I give them that permission to really feel good about themselves, to feel like, and the second day they come in and they bring in, it's a whole different version of who they are. The performance is like, just like totally, like it's a night and day. It becomes magical. And it takes just 2 days. I found that when I do this all over the world, these 2-day workshops, people leave these workshops, and what they do is their lives change. They literally get, this just happened in Copenhagen, and they booked the prequel to Game of Thrones. You know, so just using the information off of what they learned in the 2 days. And this is for writers, directors, actors. People's lives change off of that information, because it's really just simply based on being a human being. So it's easy. You know why it's easy? Because we're not playing any stupid theater games. What we're doing is just going to the resource of being a human being. And guess what? We live it every day. So we understand it. So we know, it's like, this is why I do this, and this is why my mother did this to me, and this is why my boyfriend or my girlfriend left me because of this and this and this. And it's revelations, lots of revelations about not only the character's journey, but your own personal journey, that allow, the revelations always create an environment of education, elevated and rapidly.
I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
In your book, I see you to fantasy drama. If the people during this childhood and adolescent time they're full of happiness, does that mean he can't be a good actor?
Okay, there's no such thing as everybody's like 100% happy, because then you'd be a vegetable. There's no such thing as like just people being like, you know, like, I'm a happy person. Because my brother's retarded, and he's very, very retarded. And you'd think that just because he doesn't have the ability to really understand some of the things that are happening around him, that he is a very happy person, but he's not. But he hasn't suffered, and he's been very taken care of. The family, I have 7 brothers and sisters that love him very, very much. He's been highly protected, but life still happens, and he understands that when he is in the outside world, outside of our protective love, and is that people make fun of him because he's retarded. People can be very cruel, and it doesn't have to be about being retarded. It's about being like not pretty enough, or not being as smart, or not being socially competent enough to really understand how to negotiate life. Everybody who's ever grown up it's just like going to school and trying to understand how to make your peers like you, how to fit in. That's stuff that's usable. You know, that anything about just like trying to figure out like how to negotiate life. Good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. Your reactions to both the good and the bad are going to be based on some of the insecurities you have. Some are going to be based on the things that make you confident. But all those things are usable because we're just using the human equation. So you don't have to have like trauma things happen to you, because life is just about exploring like how to be more emotionally and spiritually successful, so that you can take whatever is thrown at you, and I always say learn from what happens. Don't self-destruct from what happens, because life is going to happen. Things happen. You can't stop it. But what you can do is learn from it, and you can see it differently. And you can see it as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to change, an opportunity to help your friends and the people that you love grow as well. And so education is really key in all things, and you don't have to have a hyper dramatic life to be able to make that so, because drama just happens because it's called living life.
Okay, thank you very much.
A good question. Okay, so a lot of times people ask me about adding and creating another book based on some of the new information since I've written this book. The base of this technique stays the same. It is classic. And so all the additional information that I come up with is just an offshoot, a natural, organic offshoot. And I have schools all over the world. I teach teachers how to teach my technique, and I have teachers that are accredited to be able to pass on the new information based on a very classical thing. I was written very carefully to be timeless. So you can offshoot anything that changes politically in the world, or changes in terms of like my own growth as a teacher, because I believe that all educators should keep learning and never stop learning. And I always say that I'm going to keep learning till the day I die, but I'm even going to try to find a way after I die to be able to keep learning. I'm going to figure it out how to do that. Is that I want to feel like it's not toned by time. The reason why it took so many rewrites, I literally I wrote this over 4 years, every single day. The first original, book was this big, and I just kept refining and changing, and even had my editor in America, who was not an actor, and I made her follow, and if she couldn't understand it or follow some of the exercises that are in there, then I changed it and revamped it until even a non-actor could do it. I want to keep the timelessness and the classicness of, it's like saying, like taking a great book like Moby Dick and saying, can you do an additional version of Moby Dick? And I want to keep this as a timeless tome for people to learn from a textbook. And then from there, they can learn the additional information in the schools that are operating all over the world. I hope that after reading my book, that you will be just as inspired as I was writing it. I want to always continue to grow. I want you to always continue to grow. Utilize my book, The Power of the Actor, as a way to be able to empower your journey to greatness, to a dynamic purpose, to strength, and the ability to truly believe in yourself. You want something, go after it. Thank you.